Now, in other news, a fierce battle is underway for the open Senate seat in North Carolina.
Republicans are hoping to keep the Tar Heel state red as major issues like abortion access and the economy could sway voters. Recent polls show GOP Congressman Ted Budd with a slight edge over Democrat and former state Supreme Court Justice Cheri Beasley in the race to succeed retiring Republican Senator Richard Burr. CBS News political correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns joins us now from Raleigh, North Carolina. Hey there, Caitlin. So you spoke with Cheri Beasley about the economy and how she's approaching the issue with voters. What did she have to tell you?
Hey, Lana. Well, this is going to be a challenge for Democrats, especially Democrats like Cheri Beasley, who's trying to make the case to keep with a Democratic majority, even though voters are sour about the economy. She even mentioned that when she goes out on the campaign trail, she hears from voters about how the economy is affecting them, that they're working, 2 or 3 jobs at some points, and that they're not feeling good about the economy. So I asked her about this and what Democrats could do about it. Take a listen.
Well, it certainly has been a tough time. And, people are certainly feeling the impact of the cost of gas and prescription drugs. And what we know is that Congressman Budd has been in Congress for 6 years. When he had a chance to vote against rising gas costs, he didn't. In fact, he voted in favor of big oil. And when he had a chance to vote to lower prescription drugs, he didn't. He voted in favor of big pharma. And so there's a real opportunity for us to have someone in the Senate who will vote to lower costs.
Now, this is a really interesting race because we've been talking about races across the country where Democrats are incumbent Democrats and trying to keep their seats and defend their votes and what they've done in Congress. Cheri Beasley is running from the outside. She's running against someone who is a current congressman. So you saw her kind of trying to flip the script there and attack her Republican opponent, who is very much running on the economy and inflation and these national Republican themes that they think will benefit them. But Beasley has a unique challenge here where she is asking voters to keep voting for a Democrat and a Democratic majority, but also acknowledging that a lot of them are saying that current policies just aren't working for them. So that's the challenge that she has in this election. And here in North Carolina, you're really seeing these kind of 2 main issues, the economy and inflation and abortion rights, especially here in North Carolina, where unlike other southern states, doesn't have the restrictions or the outright bans that we've seen elsewhere. So those are 2 big issues shaping that race here in North Carolina.
Interesting to see her flipping the script on that one.
Yeah, definitely. And so, Caitlin, speaking of national issues, pulling out of North Carolina and looking at the national political landscape, yesterday President Biden attacked Republican Senator Rick Scott's 12-point plan to, quote, rescue America. And Senator Scott, who chairs the Senate Republican campaign arm, pushed back hard. Let's play a little bit of that.
I won't read through all of it, but it says, all federal legislation sunsets in 5 years. If it is worth keeping, Congress can pass it again. What do you think they're going to do when the House Budget Committee started talking about the cost of Medicare and Social Security?
I've been very clear. I will do everything I can to make sure every Medicare, every Social Security benefit, it continues. President Biden is a complete liar about that issue, and he's been part of the problem. He does not care about making sure these programs last, and I do.
Caitlin, heated words there. The White House has also repeatedly attacked Rick Scott on this issue. How is this all playing out as the midterms heat up?
That's right. Well, Rick Scott announced that multi-bulleted plan intending for Republicans to have something to run on. But it turns out that that has really been something that Democrats are actually running on because they're attacking it at every turn. And this specifically addressing Medicare and Social Security. In Rick Scott's plan, he essentially wants the Congress to reevaluate and vote to reauthorize these programs every 5 years. And so that's where Biden is really hitting him on that. And anytime you're talking about those programs, especially in an election year, is really fraught territory. And that's why a lot of Republicans on the Senate side kind of got a little bit angry at Rick Scott for kind of going there on this, going there on the issue of taxes and the potential of raising taxes on low or no income Americans. And so Rick Scott has really become kind of this foil for the Biden administration to run against, I should say. And it's created some kind of, real tension there. And as you saw in that interview, there are no minced words coming from either side. But the question is, where is the state of play in the Senate majority right now? Remember, it's a 50-50 split. Rick Scott's job is to keep and gain as many Republican seats as possible. He feels optimistic about that, but they have been under scrutiny for the quality of candidates that they've been getting for these key seats and not doing as well against some of these Democratic incumbents. Here in North Carolina, talking to Republicans, they think that if they can tap into national issues like the economy, inflation, crime, immigration, and kind of, not make a lot of noise on everything else, that they can kind of tap into those dynamics that are really working against Democrats and possibly for Republicans. But it's a very tight race here and remains to be seen whether that can be effective.
Yeah, and certainly there will not be any more minced words as midterms heat up. Caitlin Huey-Burns, thank you so much.
Thank you.